Hello, everybody. Today we have a mini unit lesson. So the topic is the precision measurement and layout. This is for grade 10 construction technology. The project connection for this unit lesson is push stick fabrication. So the main overview is the essential skill required for this lesson is accurate measurement and the layout are the foundational to all the woodworking projects. This is a mini unit lesson that prepares the student to confidently measure any type of the material and mark and verify the dimension before cutting the material. So for this purpose, the students will identify and correctly use the measurement tools, apply the basic geometry, understand the importance of the precision in construction, practice marking and techniques to reduce the material waste and improve the safety. So for this purpose, we have the first of all the introduction of the different tools. So first, the start with the demonstration of the proper use of the tape measurement. We have the different the tapes and we have the different measurements of the tapes that we have to explain, and also explain the common errors in the measurements, and then also complete the measurement challenge with the students. So the different tape measurements will be explained. Also, the student will be referred to the books or any material that they might be using in the class. For example, this is the books that we use for wood technology and processes, and have I showed my student the different introduction for the different tools, measurement tools that is here. And we have the bench ruler, we have a measuring tapes, and also we have the carpenter scale that the student can use for the measurements. So the student are shown with the video. The video is about the all type measurements, introduction of the measurements, how the students are learning the all type measurement tricks. So first of all,
everything from how to read them to how to handle them, even tips on how to look and sound like a pro when you're using them. Everything in one go. So that's what I'm talking about today on The Honest Carpenter Show. I'll start by saying that I really do prefer the Stanley PowerLock 25. It's quality, it's affordable, it's used by many pros in the field. The Mylar coating is quite durable, and the 1-inch wide blade has a rigid projection of about 8 feet before it snaps, which is helpful. And I use the Stanley with imperial measurements on both sides. That's inches and feet. They make a model with imperial and metric on opposing sides, but I like pure imperial because you'll have to read from either side frequently. Also, the tab at the end is supposed to wiggle. This is because the tab itself has a thickness, and it slides to add or subtract that thickness itself. We call this the travel. So if you butt against something to measure, it adds a 16th. If you hook and pull, it subtracts a 16th. This makes your measurements accurate no matter what. And the 3 rivets keep the tab from shifting over time, even with some rough handling. Okay, first I'm going to talk about understanding the tape. If you're already familiar with tape reading, then maybe skip ahead to the handling section. I'll mark it down in the timeline. But for total newcomers, here it goes. The tape is divided into feet, inches, and inch fractions, and it's designed to help you identify these things quickly. For instance, foot marks are in large black arrows, most noticeable. Inches are in full lines that reach all the way across the tape width. Half inches are the next longest, followed by quarter inches, eighths, and all the tiniest marks are sixteenths. Now, here's the first big tip. When you're pulling a tape to get a measurement, you can basically ignore the foot marks. Instead, just call out the inches. For instance, on this measurement, I won't say 5 feet, 3 inches, and 7/16. Instead, I'll read the lower line, which is the total inches pulled, and say 63 inches and 7/16. That's how we do it in construction, and it lets us measure and cut faster. And yes, of course, metric users have an obvious advantage that everything is already in full numbers, not subdivided feet. Plus, their fractions are in increments of 10, which is, yeah, logically superior. But I grew up in a place that uses imperial or SAE, so that's what I'm talking about today. That said, where most Americans get nervous is with all the tiny little marks, the fractions. It's a little daunting because it looks like a mess. But here's the trick. If you want to get faster at reading the tape, you're best off thinking of the little marks just in terms of eighths. It's the easiest way to orient yourself. Here's how it works. When I pull my measurement and it's a fraction, I immediately look for the last 1/8 inch mark. So the front numbers are 1/8, 2/8, or 3/8. The middle point is 4/8, and the back numbers are 5, 6, and 7/8. So if a measurement falls right on a 16th, just look at the last eighth, double it, and add 1. So if I'm here, 5/8 becomes 10/16 plus 1, 11/16. That's really it. The hardest thing you're doing is doubling your eighth and adding 1. Eventually you get so you recognize the relative position really quickly and do that little calculation in a blink. Now, that's the easiest way for beginners to learn these fractions. But if you want to sound like a pro, do this. Avoid saying even increments. On a job site, we would never say 4/8. We would just say a half. And we would never say 6/8. We would just say 3/4. Every even number falls under a larger fraction, so say it as the larger fraction. 5/8 and 7/8 are fine to say because they're in between larger fractions. They're odd. 3/16 and 7/16, they're odd too, also fine to say. But 2/16 should be an eighth, 2/8 should be a quarter. It's a little annoying at first, but if you just focus on the size of the line, you'll quickly be able to orient yourself on the tape. All right, let's get into the more interesting stuff. Handling the tape. This may seem elementary, but it's really easy for pros to spot a newcomer because they're really clumsy with the tape. These things are more awkward than they seem, and rookies fall victim to simple mistakes. So here are the best ways to use the tape, manipulate it, and read it like a pro. First off, keep it handy. Tape measures are your eyes on the job site. Always keep them close at hand. Always. If you don't have a tool belt, keep the clip on it so you can hook it to your belt or pocket. If you do have a tool belt, maybe take the clip off.
So this is about the tape, and the student will be shown this lesson for the tape, how to use the tape and the measurements. And after that, the next things that student will be given a competition to measure the tape, use the tape and measure the different types of words. That's measure the different types of words and show the use of the tape, how they do it. After this, the students will also be able to use the ruler if they want to, and show how they can use the ruler, and also the carpenter's gear that will be used for the measurements, and the video will be shown on that as well. For the other and the tips of precise measurements and layout,
It comes with accidentally taking a poor measurement and ending up with a miscut part. Now, measuring twice and cutting once is certainly a sage bit of advice that most of us learn. However, in my 35 plus years of woodworking experience, I've managed to pick up quite a few other measuring and layout tricks that I'd like to share with you in this video. The best first step you can take towards assuring that your workshop measurements are precise is to compare all your measuring tools to one another. Here I'm using a piece of plywood as an end stop, and I'm just butting my rules of various length and yardstick and so on against there, and then I just compare the scales to one another to make sure they match. It's not uncommon to find at least one rule that doesn't match the others, and the best medicine here is to just get rid of it. Now, also, you'll want to check your various tri-squares and triangles, pretty much anything that has an incremented scale on it against your other rules. And once again, you're just looking for a perfect match here. Of course, that includes your tape measures. Don't be surprised if you have an older tape measure if it doesn't match your other scales. The sliding stops on these are notorious for wearing out. Here you can see this one's off by about a 32nd of an inch. Speaking of tape measures, here's a little pitfall that many of us have been trapped by. Now, if you have an older tape measure and you know it's inaccurate, measured using the end stop, it's tempting to simply slide it over and align the 1-inch mark and use that to then lay out the length of a part that's going to be cut. So here, for instance, I want a 12-inch part, so it kind of makes sense to mark the 12-inch line, but you can predict what's going to happen. When I come back from the saw, magically, 1 inch is gone because I forgot to add 1 inch to the overall length of the measurement. Before you can mark a precise distance on a part with a regular rule, of course, you have to align the end of the rule with the end of the workpiece. Well, if you want to eliminate that step, simply switch to a hook rule. Hook rule has a nice little hook on it that automatically aligns with the end of the workpiece and allows you to mark with confidence. I like to use a mechanical pencil for most of my layout work because unlike a regular taper-pointed wood pencil, it produces a line of consistent thickness. Now, a small downside of using a pencil to mark joinery like this mortise is that you have to then visually align a chisel or other tool with the graphic on the surface. In cases like this, I prefer to switch to a marking knife. Now, the knife run along the edge of a square or rule makes an absolutely thin and precise line, much more precise than any pencil line. And a great advantage to having this incised groove is it makes it super easy to physically align the tip of a chisel or edge of a saw blade with the knife line that you've marked. Now when you're
Okay, so this is the two videos that are going to be shown to the students for the proper measurements and how to use the tools and how to measure the wood for using the tools. So basically we lead to the fabrication of the push stick, and there will be the next things that the student can be shown for the after all these measurements. They can explore more about the push stick, different style of making the push stick, and there is other video that can be shown to the video to the students, the different styles how to make a push stick block, and there is a different videos for this push sticks, and the student can have the choices for making that push stick and selecting the piece of the wood to make that push stick. So that would be all, and there is the review for this with the students while they're measuring the different materials. There's a question and answer session. If they ask any question and they're not sure about using the material and which material they have to use, there will be referral to the books for further details as well. And in practical, yes, there is the practical things involved for the measurement and all those, the selection of the materials. Thank you.